Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's TJ. Just want to talk a little bit about the Jackson State Tennessee Southern Heritage Classic game. Jackson State get the victory by a score of 38-16. And, this was, a very exciting game, like to me, I think that the game was really good. I think that, seeing Eddie George and Deion Sanders coaching on respective sidelines really was a good look for HBCU football. And just having the Southern Heritage Classic back, the first time it's been back since 2019. So it's been a while since we've seen Tennessee State, Jackson State get together and actually have a game, with fans in the stands. But, just looking at this game and evaluating it, I have to say you can really tell that, looking at Jackson State, they really played much better than they did last week. I think that the rain at the beginning of the game against FAMU kind of affected what they wanted to do offensively. They were able to do some things that they wanted to do earlier in that game against FAMU, but to me, I feel like the weather did not allow them to do so. They were able to, throw the ball down the field. There were a lot of crossing routes. Shedeur Sanders was doing a really good job reading the defense. He has a high football IQ, you can tell. And it was on display in this game. He was able to get the ball to his playmakers, and they made plays when they needed to. Looking at Tennessee State, I think Tennessee State did a good job early in the first half. They played pretty decent defensively. They bend, but they did not break. Shedeur Sanders and the Jackson State Tigers were able to get down to the red zone, but they didn't come away with scores. So that's what you really want. If you're going to have a defense that is still growing and developing, you want them to at least be bend but not break. So Tennessee State did do a good job in the first half. I think that they went wrong when they decided to change quarterbacks going into the second half. And I completely understand why they did what they did. They seen the backup quarterback come in after Higginbottom went out because his helmet went off. And the first play, he threw the ball down the field, got him close to the goal line, and then he ran it in for a touchdown. So they thought maybe he'll bring in a spark in the second half. But I just think that it can affect the guy's confidence because they decided to change quarterbacks going into the second half. And the backup quarterback just didn't have it, and then when he starts to struggle, you bring back in Higginbottom. I just think that that's just a bad message that you're sending to your team. Higginbottom wasn't playing that bad to a point where I feel like he needed to be benched. And I think maybe some of his teammates probably feel the same way. So your coaches got to be careful about making those type of decisions and not affecting the confidence of the quarterback. I mean, just imagine what Higginbottom is feeling. He's feeling like he was playing okay. I mean, he was under duress, but I mean, he was still fighting for extra yards. He converted like a 3rd and 15. He was scrambling. He was doing some things. He was moving around in the pocket. So I didn't think it was warranted that he got benched. But that's something that Eddie George and his coaching staff are going to need to work on. Maybe it's because, they still are trying to find out what they actually have as a team. I don't know, but I just think that was a bad look. As far as Jackson State defensively, I think they did an outstanding job capitalizing yet again on a successful defensive week last week. They coming back and doing it again. Guys flying all over the field. The front four was wreaking havoc. They were getting pressure on both quarterbacks. They had them dazed and confused and rattled. And one thing that I can respect about the Jackson State defense is how technologically sound they are. Like the fact that they don't try to be all fancy with it. They make sure that they wrap a guy up. They make sure that they're short tackling, and they're very instinctive, man. When they see a play, they just run right into it, man, and they try to make a play. So I think that they did a really good job. The linebackers and the defensive ends, and as well as the defensive tackles of Jackson State, really did a good job. The front seven were outstanding. They sacked the quarterbacks I don't know how many times, and you can tell it was extremely frustrated for both quarterbacks. What I feel like both teams need to work on, I'll start with Tennessee State. Stick with, the quarterback that you're going to run with. Also, the running game, I think that the running game is pretty good for Tennessee State. They had a little bit of success, but Jackson State was able to stop the run. But you can tell that Tennessee State has some really good running backs, but they they have really good running backs, and you can tell that, they try to set up the play action to throw the ball downfield. And because the running backs wasn't really getting success, they weren't able to throw the ball downfield. So you can tell, like, they need to put a little bit more emphasis on the run so it can set up the play action for the big plays indeed to develop. And once again, stick with one quarterback. Jackson State offensively, I think that their offense is a little bit too vanilla. They remind me a lot of the New Orleans Saints. Like, I'm serious. They remind me of the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees, for the last couple of years, he can't get the ball down the field. So the Saints kind of came up with like all these short intermediate routes, these quick slants, and, put the ball in the hands of the playmakers in order for them to get yards after the catch. It looks the same way as the New Orleans Saints, short intermediate routes, quick outs, 3-step drops, dumping the ball down, checking it down. And I feel like it shouldn't be that way with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders has a really good arm. He has great arm strength. He can get the ball down the field. And I just feel like they're wasting his potential if they're not allowing him to throw the ball down the field. They got some good playmakers. And yes, these guys are getting yards after the catch. And yes, these wide receivers are blocking in order for, the slot receiver to get open and make big explosive plays. And of course, you have Newman, who's the scat back, a little bit of a slot guy. You got him on jet sweeps and wide receiver screens. That's cool. But I just feel like they're stopping themselves from being extremely explosive by not allowing Shedeur Sanders to throw the ball down the field. And also the running game. The offensive line, as far as run blocking, is not that good. They leave a lot of yards on the field because they're not a real good run blocking team. I think that's something that they need to work on. They got a running back that's a battering ram, and he's smart. He can find the holes. He gets in that rhythm, and he's hard to stop. And when he gets downhill, he's definitely hard to stop. So I think they need to work on their run blocking. Their pass blocking is really good. I think that Shedeur Sanders does a really good job helping them out, making really good decisions. Him being as smart as he is to be so young is incredible. On one play, he actually hurry up and snap the ball because he seen Tennessee State personnel trying to change up, and they got a penalty because of it, because they had 12 men on the field. So smart plays like that really shows you and tells you a lot about a player. But both teams, I feel like, on a high trajectory. Tennessee State is rebuilding. Jackson State seems like they're finding their groove, and I'm interested to see what both teams are going to do now that they're going to settle into their conference games. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think about the Jackson State-Tennessee State game? Comment down below, and I really do appreciate your time. Peace.